Should we begin or?
Yeah, so welcome everybody to Trends in Micro-credentials for Professional Development. And I will turn this over to Valerie.
All right, well, thank you. Well, hello everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Valerie Morphew, and I'm a professor at Fairmont State University. I received a Foundations Fellow Award to explore micro-credentials and take a look at that in terms of how it might impact or be impacted by higher ed and how it might be factored into professional development. And this presentation is in part a result of my exploratory research. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through the presentation and then we'll have time for sharing and maybe to see what you're doing with micro-credentials or what you'd like to do. But we're going to, but first, let's go ahead and begin with the presentation. Okay, so after this presentation, what we're hoping you'll be able to do is identify past professional development micro-credential opportunities in order to contextualize current opportunities. Hopefully you'll be able to identify current professional development micro-credential opportunities in order to identify trends. And third, identify trends in professional micro-credential opportunities to envision future micro-credentialing. So let's begin by thinking about what are we talking about when we discuss micro-credentials? What are micro-credentials? And there are a lot of different definitions out there, but most of them are similar and have a few key things that you can keep in mind for the definition. And I like this one by the NEA. A micro-credential is a short, competency-based recognition that allows an educator to demonstrate mastery in a particular area. We're going to deconstruct this a bit. So if we look at this, for a micro-credential, this is different from something that is a credential based on like four years of schooling or something along those lines. It is short. It could last just a couple of hours or an hour. It could, the opportunity could last maybe up to 18 months, but much longer than that. And typically it's no longer a micro-credential, although some people would argue that it still fits in the category. So it's something typically pretty short. It's competency-based. So the earner of a micro-credential has to demonstrate a competency. Recognition, it is recognized in some way, and we'll talk about this. So for example, a digital badge may be a recognition that allows an educator to demonstrate mastery. And this is significant because it's not that you sat through a workshop. It's not enough to just show up. You have to be able to demonstrate mastery. And it's usually in a particular area. So it might be that you demonstrate competency in rubric development, as opposed to just saying you have demonstrated mastery in education. That would be too broad. So those are just some things to keep in mind as we go through this presentation. So if we look at the past and we think about professional development and earning, they really didn't call them necessarily micro-credentials in the past. You may be familiar with, if you've been in different professional development opportunities, you might receive a paper certificate. A printed certificate saying that you, and it may have been that you showed up at the time. It may not have been that you had to do anything actually, but that would have been a type of credential, a small credential. So we'll call it a micro-credential, even though it may not have been referred to as that at the time. You may have received continuing education units or continuing education credits, and that would be something that would be sort of like a micro-credential. Or you may have had a checklist. Maybe you had to complete a certain number of workshops out of maybe 15 over the course of a year in order to show that you've been undergoing professional development. And that's maybe the way it was, but that's really not how it is for most areas right now. So let's take a look at some current opportunities. You may or may not be familiar with some of the ones I'm about to speak on, but they all have a lot of things in common. Let's begin with the tech and other companies. All right, you might be familiar with Google, and you might be able to, some of you in here maybe have Google certifications. As an educator, Google educator, you may have Apple certifications. Different companies, not just tech companies, but different companies have different types of opportunities where you can learn something and then demonstrate competency. And we'll talk later about how you can demonstrate competency in something. But tech companies often do provide opportunities for you to attain micro-credentials. Organizations like the NEA or ISTE, they may have different certification programs or ways to earn badges or some type of micro-credential. Let's see, just checking the chat. MOOCs is another way. And you can earn micro-credentials through MOOCs. Now, MOOCs are massive open online courses. And a couple of places that you can look for MOOCs are edX and Coursera. And these are open to the world. And generally speaking, they're open, they're free, generally speaking. But if you want to have something from it, like you want to earn a certificate, some kind of micro-credential or a badge or a specialization, there's oftentimes a fee associated with that. So you can still get all the information if you go to a course that doesn't charge anything. But if you want to have the competency-based micro-credential to show employers or whomever, then you might have to pay. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you might be able to get earn micro-credentials without any fee that's associated with it. Just depends. Nonprofits are also places now that offer micro-credentials. And one that is very much tuned into the education world is Digital Promise. And that's just one example. And if you were to go to their website and you search for micro-credentials, you'll see all the kinds of different opportunities available there. And most people are familiar with the National Geographic Society. They also offer micro-credentials. So this is going further. It's now at the university and college level, and I have a couple of examples here: the University of Albany, State University of New York, and the University of Maine systems. All learning counts. But those are just two. You can find, if you do a search, a Google search or any kind of search, you will find lots of opportunities at the university and college level to earn micro-credentials. So you can see it's becoming ubiquitous, really, because it started more in the tech world or in gaming, earning digital badges and that sort of thing. And really, it's kind of, it's ubiquitous. Another is platforms that are around for micro-credentialing, and Bloomboard is one example of that. So if you go to Bloomboard and you take a look at what they do with educators and professional development, you'll see that that's their focus.
Valerie, you have a question in the chat about MOOCs and edX.
Okay, let's see. It's kind of big. Maybe it's just showing that way for me. Hold on just a second. Okay. Are MOOCs and edX professionally respected and recognized? MOOCs, absolutely. MOOCs are MIT, Harvard, Yale, different Ivy League schools and lesser known schools are all involved with MOOCs and creating MOOCs. So, and yes, I mean, as far as I know, I have had courses through Coursera and edX. And I feel, doing my research, that a lot of companies and all are, yes, that would be my opinion. Now, somebody else might have a different opinion, but I do believe that They're generally accepted and respected because of the courses on them are from major institutions and companies. And of course, you'd have to look through the different courses in the companies and to see what those MOOCs are, and they're rated, they're reviewed. So you have to do your homework, but I think generally speaking, it would be, people do respect it. It's become much more common for people to take MOOCs. I mean, we're talking, it's the world. People all around the world are taking them. Okay, let's see, did I miss anything else? Some edX courses require a minimum of $50 for digital certification. Okay. And I don't have my edX. I'm going to show you my some of my credentials later. The certificates I earned from via edX, I don't have on here, but I earned 3 certificates and a specialization from edX. Okay, let's see if I can actually click forward now. Okay. So we talked about the printed certificate in the past and other types of things, continuing education credits. So what can you earn? Well, you can earn certificates and you can print out certificates, but certificates that are being offered as micro-credentials generally are linked, and they are linked. You might have a site like Credly that will, I think it might be proper to say, house the badges, and they're verifiable there. And there's others, so there's other platforms too, other sites. But so you would have a link, a very specific link, or it might go to the site that actually issued the micro-credential. It may not go through another site. And you would have a link to your certificate. So you could put this in your resume, LinkedIn profile, or any number of ways to share it with others. You may earn a digital badge, and a digital badge is similar to a certificate. I'll show you what a digital badge looks like and how it appears. But that too, depending on how it's shared, if it's shared in your LinkedIn profile through one of the major credentialing platforms, it will be linked. So you can go to your LinkedIn profile and click on it, and it will go to your digital badge, and it will tell you a lot of different information. And you can earn a specialization, and it depends on how it's set up. A specialization may be something where you had to have taken a series of courses, and if you pass them all with a certain degree of competency, you earn a specialization. And it may also include a digital badge showing the specialization, and I'll show you an example of that. Some things about digital badges and linked micro-credentials are that they're portable, which is really nice. It's not like, let's think about a transcript from a university. You can only get that transcript from the university, and then, it might be an unofficial transcript, and then you have to order the official transcript, and then it's sent somewhere. Well, the digital badges, as long as you have a link, anybody in the world can access it, anybody you share it with. The same with your certificates, if you have a URL with that. When I say they're verifiable, if they are connected to one of the sites that I was talking about before, you will click on it and it will tell you, it will go through it will actually verify it right there, and you get this pop-up. It will verify it, it will tell you when the person earned it, and so forth. So it's legit. And so you're not just pasting badges onto your resume or your signature and your email. I mean, they're verifiable, which is really kind of nice. And they're descriptive, so they'll tell a little bit about them. You would, if you click on badges, for example, in my email signature, it will take you to these sites. It will verify the badges, and it will tell you when I earned them. It will give a description. So you might have tags. Okay, I learned Python and, some basics of Python, maybe some AI, some whatever it was I was studying. And, they might have 3 or 4 different tags for that. And then maybe something else, like you had to attain a certain grade or something along those lines. So earning a micro-credential can be done in a number of ways, but I like to break it down into 2. You might be able to earn a micro-credential for previously attained knowledge and skills. So let's just go back to the rubric example. If you are very good at creating rubrics and you've studied it, you've just on your own learned about them, and that's just something you're really good at, you may be able to find a micro-credentialing site that has something along those lines, or maybe even specifically it's almost like getting credit for something. You get you can submit some of the work that they require, and then they'll have reviewers review your work. And if you attain a certain mastery, or you can prove you've attained a certain mastery, then you earn a micro-credential. And the other way is to have newly attained knowledge and skills. And this is where the more typical, what I would consider, for me at least, where you take a course, or you show a skill or something you do, but it's new to you. So that would be kind of a way to look at micro-credential attainment. So how actually, if you get down to the nitty gritty and say, well, what do I need to do to actually show this? There are a lot of different ways, and I've mentioned some earlier, but some might be skill-based experiences, where if you're in nursing, for example, you might have to demonstrate a certain series of skills to show that you know how to perform some life-saving skill, and you could earn a micro-credential that way. It might be, if you're in programming, that you can write a script and it works. That might be something, and you submit it, and in some cases it might be that you have to somebody will have to review it, or it could be automatically generated. If it works and something comes up, you get the micro-credential. It might be more along the lines of taking modules or courses, and that would be like the MOOCs we were talking about before, or maybe in a tech company, you might have to finish some e-learning modules where you have some testing, and if you complete all the projects or whatever, then you earn a micro-credential. You might be able to test out, and I did this with a Tableau, which is a visualization type of a tool, and I have studied it some, but I was able to test out of the first badge consumer, and I'm hoping to do some additional ones too, but I could test out before I completed all the work. There were e-learning courses associated with that. So you can test out sometimes. You might know something, and that goes back to, well, I have previous knowledge in this and I just want to prove it. So you might be able to do that, or it could be testing from new types of knowledge and skills. You might have a customized learning path that you're interested in pursuing, and you might be able to kind of develop your own series of things that you want to say, hey, I'm really good at such and such, and I want to be acknowledged because of this. I want to be recognized. And you might be able to find a micro-credentialing site that can verify that you're actually as good as you think you are. Another way is e-portfolios or digital portfolios. You might be able to put together, either this could be with previously known content, or it could be with new. You may have to demonstrate that, yes, indeed, I do know how to develop a unit, or whatever you're doing. So an e-portfolio, and then there are all kinds of other ways, and I'm hoping that we can share some ways that maybe you've done to actually earn some micro-credentials, or what you'd like to do. So looking at the trends, what are some things happening? Well, as I said, it's becoming ubiquitous, really, as far as seeing where micro-credentials pop up, and your ability to earn them from anywhere. And it's becoming more common in education. And so teachers at the district level are able to work with the teachers, and they can earn micro-credentials, and that will count towards professional development that they're expected to have. At the state level for teacher certification, you'd have to check with your department to see if that would be acceptable or not. It could be used for promotion and tenure. I'm graduate faculty, and I was just up for a renewal of full graduate faculty status. And among other things that I've done, I included a number of my badges and micro-credentials, because I really learned a lot with that, and it's helping me in my professional practice. And I did receive full graduate status again, renewal. Customized learning. Again, we know what we need to know, and we know what's good for us, and we can really piece together our professional development by exploring the world and seeing what's out there and what we want to do and what we know already, and what we want to show we know, and what we want to learn. So there are so many opportunities to learn. It's really an exciting time to be around. It's becoming more universally accepted. Like somebody said, or asked the question about, specific providers of MOOCs. And, you have to do your homework and just check things out. But I've been very pleased with the work I've found, and not just, in this. I do a lot of things that don't earn micro-credentials, just my own professional development. But, the world is open with all kinds of opportunities, and more people and more organizations are recognizing micro-credentials as legitimate credentials that are helping people grow in different ways. And so I am hoping that you will be able to share some things with me. But what I would like to do is I'm going to show you some badges that I've earned, so you have an idea of what I'm talking about here. Okay, let's see. I'm going to share an image. Okay, hopefully you can see this. Cecilia, can we see this? Can you see it? I hope. All right, so here are some digital badges that I've earned, and different things. And I think this is really interesting here. I love that I was able to earn these Quality Matter badges recently, within the past year, I think, because I love having them here to be able to share in this presentation, but also I share this in my digital signature on my email. So I know that's kind of tiny, but these are IBM courses that were offered on Coursera. And in the courses, I had to perform different projects, and I had to take tests and so forth. And then I can't remember exactly how I earned the specialization. I can't remember the exact courses I had to take in order to do that, but this is a specialization. And the smaller ones here are the courses that I've earned, and they're mostly technology based. And this is the Tableau consumer one that I was telling you about before that I tested out of. And then here are the QM ones, the Quality Matters, and it shows that I am a QM reviewer for K-12, also K-12 publisher, higher ed, and then this one is the course one. And then there are some certificates, as I said, that I earned from, actually the course was through the University of Washington Extension, I think, through edX. And I earned a few certificates in project management from that. So I just wanted to show you this. So you could actually, I do have these on my LinkedIn profile. And you can set it up. They actually work with each other, like LinkedIn and Credly. So they talk to each other. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile and you click on any of these badges, it will take you to the verifiable page that I was telling you about. I set it up in my email so that if you click on any of these, they do go to those pages as well. So that's one way to do it. You can also include these on your resume. Again, the LinkedIn profile, you could email, and there may be some other ways you want to share it too. If you just want to share it with your employer to show that you've been becoming more professional in some area, you usually have a URL link to it so that you can just send the URL to your employer. Okay, so that is what I wanted to present to you. And what I'd like now is to open it up and see what you're doing in other areas and other places, and see if we can learn from each other. So let's just take a moment to explore and see what you have to share.
Hi, this is Melissa. Is it okay if I grab the microphone?
Absolutely, go for it.
Great. Thanks. Sorry, my camera's not working very well today, so I've got it off. So we are really looking into moving into continuing the continuing education space. I work for a school of public health at Drexel University, and we kind of dipped our toe into it a little bit in 2019, and we really had no takers. So I'm wondering kind of about marketability and the market getting flooded with all these credentials, and how institutions can make themselves stand out in a way that will get folks interested.
That's a really good question. Can you share how you did it so we can see what did you do? Did you have it was associated with courses, or how did you present them?
Oh, sure. So we worked with our college. So Drexel has a College of Professional Studies that already had an established kind of continuing education presence. So we worked with them to have our courses listed on their website, and they were online asynchronous self-paced courses. So they were not facilitated by any faculty. And then we also put it on our website, but I don't have any marketing budget. So it's kind of like, right, I'm at like the chicken and the egg stage with this. I can't get resources to market it until it like shows there's market.
Well, what did you offer? Did you offer digital badges that were, there are different technology tools that you can find that you can create digital badges, and then you can house them in open sourced kind of places. What did you offer for these?
We offered a certificate of completion. So we did not offer digital badges.
Okay.
And maybe that was our mistake.
Maybe. I mean, that might be something that you might want to consider. Did they pay? Was this something that they would pay for?
Yes, it was.
Okay. That might make a difference, because I don't think it's really flooded. I don't think the market is flooded. Not at this point, because there's so many different ways to, there's just so many things to learn. If you are an educator, you're going to go to maybe 2 or 3 different places right now. If you are in technology, there's just all kinds of places you can go to earn micro-credentials, but I don't think it's flooded. That's my opinion from doing my exploratory research.
Okay.
I would say that you would probably want to look now that, I think it's expected that it would be digitized. And then, looking at, if you think about what we talked about, portability, verifiability, and descriptive, those kinds of things are really important. So you may want to look at some open source things to begin with, that, so that you're not having, you talked about your budgets, and see what's available for creating them, and maybe where you can house them, or students can house their badges. So, if there are all kinds of different ways to do that. And if any of you are interested after we talk and we leave this presentation, I'm easy to find. I'm at Fairmont State University. Just look me up in the directory and send me an email. We can continue the conversation. But I would say that might be part of it, especially if you're charging and they're not going to be able to, if it's not portable, they could say they earned it, but it's just not the same, I think.
No,
so
that's
just something to think about. Does anyone else have any suggestions for Melissa that I didn't address? Okay.
I'm Mona Kirby from McDaniel College in Maryland, and I would love to hear from other folks besides Melissa who has had trouble marketing those micro-credentials and who hasn't had trouble, and who are your clients?
And it might be too that if you have a standalone micro-credential associated with an asynchronous course, that's one way to approach it. Other institutions may say, well, we have courses, and if you take these 3 courses from us, you will earn a digital badge at, that will be a specialization, and that may not be at a cost, but it's sort of an incentive to to finish this series of courses, and you'll have something to show for it in addition to the completing those 3 courses and getting credit for it. So, and two, I can't remember the exact place, but one institution had, if you earned regular credit, you would go, of course, with the registrar's office. And if you were going to go with the micro-credential, you would go elsewhere. And I don't remember if they had it where it was either or it was both and you could earn both, but if you'd have to go one way, to get it all taken care of. So that might be something else to consider. But to answer the question, have you used it, or have you in any way had success or trouble or any difficulties?
Valerie, it's Cecilia. There's a comment and a question both in the chat.
Okay, let's see. I don't know why I'm having some trouble. Could you read it for me?
Sure. So Amy had said, really just need to see what the definition was and how it might be defined for private companies. Great presentation. And she says, I think there's a real difference between the US and Canada. And then Karen said, is anyone working with blockchain technology to capture micro-credentials in and out of the classroom to document comprehensive learner records?
Well, I think that's not my area of expertise with blockchain, but I think that this is all kind of, a lot of it's similar because, it's something that is the portability of it, where you can access it from anywhere, and it puts the learner in control. So if I, want to share that with anyone, I have that opportunity. And like for my official transcripts of my university work and my college work, I have to just go through one place, and it's sort of like I'm not as much in control. I think that would be kind of some of the similarities with blockchain, but again, that's not my area of expertise. What about the rest of you? Do you have a comment about that? This is more, it's newer at the higher ed level, and it's newer with professional development in PK through 12 and higher ed as well. But I think it's taking off. If you go to the Bloomboard site and you take a look at what's offered, and the digital global site that I referred to before, you'll see the kinds of things that are being done. And just if you like NEA, ISTE, like, as I said, a lot of these different education organizations, or somehow they're affiliated with education, or they're catering to educators. You can see that there's really a trend to saying, this makes sense, because we can do so much. We can enable and empower educators to learn and grow, and they can do it on their own time. Much of this, I'd say most of it, I don't know if I'd say all of it, but most of it is online in some way. And so it really does allow people to access really great opportunities. And I'm not sure I really answered any questions there. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, and Valerie, there's one from Beth Bailey. She says our university adopted a badge system, but if we were to offer badges to individuals outside of the university, would you or others recommend a particular badge organization?
It depends, I guess. No, I don't think I would recommend any particular. I would say if it depends partly on your budget, what you actually want to do. My understanding is things like Blackboard, the LMS, Blackboard Learning Management System. I know I've used achievements and badges within my courses, and I think I might be able to use it outside of it. I don't think there'd be any extra cost or anything, but I don't know if they'd be portable or anything along those lines. So you'd have to see, what is it you want to do? And what's my budget if I have if you don't have a budget, then that's going to limit what you're able to do. But I don't really have any particular recommendation. The courses that I took, they gave me the opportunity to sign up with Credly because that was just happened to be the ones that they're doing. But I also, just to learn more about it, I signed up with an open source, I can't remember, I want to say Open Badge, but it may have changed names, site. And so that I could also carry those badges with me, and then I can, share my site with others. So it really just depends. But if you want to carry the conversation on with me, I can probably send you some links to some helpful sites that I've discovered along the lines. But it really, again, it just really depends on what you want to do. If you're trying to offer standalone courses and that are going to be provide you with micro-credentials, you might do it through your university, or you might want to do a MOOC and offer it through edX. A course, and then open up the micro-credentials that way. And I don't know what that entails as far as, how do you connect with, let's just say Coursera and offer a MOOC. You'd have to, check into that, but that's one opportunity. So if you've been just thinking, well, I'm just going to do this at my institution, through my learning management system, and then they earn a badge, that may be one way to do it. But it might also be that you can do it through another platform. So I hope that helps a little bit.
So Valerie, then Alan posted that they started the process internally using badges within their LMS for PD courses, and they want to start spreading it out to credit and non-credit. But there has been some resistance, so that it's not a participation badge. We want it to be something that's desirable, but getting faculty to see that has been difficult. So we're in the beginning stages. And then Beth asked him what LMS, and he said that he's on Canvas. So Badger is what is already integrated into Canvas.
Okay, that's the one, Badger. I forgot the name of it. Yes, it's Badger, where you can, I didn't realize it was integrated with your LMS. That's great. And I don't know if Blackboard is or not, but Badger is would be considered similar to a Credly, and I believe it's open source. I'm pretty sure it is, but I'd have to check. But that's I'm curious why there'd be resistance. Are they thinking that it's not more than just you show up, you get a badge kind of thing? Because I would think if you have it set so that they have to attain certain skills or certain levels based on testing or projects, portfolios or whatever, I mean, you have evidence that you have attained mastery. So I'm kind of surprised that there'd be some pushback, except it's just not traditional and it's change, and change is sometimes difficult. Maybe could you comment on that? I can't remember who that was. Was it Alan maybe?
Yeah, that's me. Sure. I don't mind talking about it for a second.
Okay.
I think one of the major concerns we've seen from a lot of faculty has been this idea that badging, at least on the non-credit side, they see it as a duplication of a certificate. So there are already these nationally certified programs. Why do they need a badge if they're already doing this? And so we've been able to kind of hedge some of those conversations. But I think the problem that we've seen on the credit side, as far as academics, has been this idea of identifying micro skills in your courses that can be badged. so that it's not a, you completed this course, here's your badge for completing the course. It's a, no, you've shown mastery in a skill. And so now you get a badge. And so it really is just that paradigm shift that's causing that, I think, that little bit of resistance, because we're changing it from a matter of course completion or module completion to skill development. And that's something that a lot of faculty are kind of struggling to wrap their heads around. So we're in it for the long game, and we're trying to show it in some of our professional development, like our teaching online program, our LMS course, and we just did a training course on regular and substantive interaction, and have been badging in those things. And so we're seeing it happen, but it's just a really slow process to build that paradigm shift in.
Yeah, that's very well stated. I think you're making, that's the paradigm shift is really probably, but I think it's going to happen. I see it coming more and more and more with, changes and acceptance. And I think once that hurdle is, you leaped over the hurdle, and I think people are going to start accepting it more, but it's that paradigm shift and change. That's exciting. That's really exciting. And I think you really spoke about the difference between skill acquisition and course completion. And, you assume that there are skills along the way that are attained in order to complete the course. But this really is nice, where you can issue badges for particular skills that are really marketable. And, I see around my campus how people are more and more and more, faculty and others are in their digital signature, in email signatures. Now I'm seeing badges all over the place, where about a year and a half ago, I saw nothing. And, it's really, I think it helps to show this. And I would think for people who are new to the market, that, just in school right now and trying to finish, this is going to be super important for them, because it's out there and people are looking for it. Okay, thank you. Are there other ways that you're using it, or that you anticipate some challenges?
Valerie Irvin had a question. He said, recently I am researching information on starting a micro-credential program for our online certification course in online teaching for faculty at the University of North Georgia. Are there guidelines or best practices on how to start a micro-credential program for faculty?
I don't think I came across that, but that doesn't mean it's not out there. There are different places you can find where you can find success stories of what's being done right now. And how districts are using that for professional development. Bloomboard is one. You might just read what people are doing now and how their success stories. And if there is not a guide that you can locate and that I haven't come across, that might be a way to say, okay, this is how they did it, and these are the things that made it successful for others. I really wish I had asked at the beginning how many of you were in higher ed and how many of you were PK-12, because I think that would have been really helpful. But either way, it's being used in all of those different places. So and if it's not out there and there is not a guide, or if there's a guide and you find that in the process of creating this program, maybe you can write one. You can share it with the rest of us. That would be really great, actually. I think that there's a lot of opportunity. I think right now, this is kind of really exciting time for micro-credentials in education. And this is a time, if you're interested in this, that you could really make a difference and help open the doors for a lot of opportunities for teachers and faculty, staff, and students.
And then Valerie, Karen gave some information about blockchain. She said the idea of blockchain and the comprehensive learner record is a portable storage place that will hold all your credentials, both in higher ed and industry. And ASU recently developed a comprehensive system called Pocket with funding from the Gates Foundation. And she said blockchaining is also being developed in Europe, and they are working with open badges.
Cool. Cool.
And then
So it is
Sharon had a question. What are funding mechanisms for the facilitators of a micro-credential coursework? It takes time and attention to carefully facilitate work. How are facilitators funded to do this?
That's a great question. I don't know. That would be based on each individual institution. My guess is it's not funded, and that people who are doing this are either with it like a continuing education or extension of a university, and they have the funds and the faculty or the staff to set these up. But I would say a lot of people are interested in this who are doing it as part of their workload, or it's added into their workload. But I could be mistaken. There might be like multiple funding sources out there. You just named one about the Gates Foundation. Maybe different funding sources would be available to help fund some of these efforts. How are the rest of you funding these endeavors? Are you just doing this like Alan and I think Melissa maybe, and some of the others?
So we haven't necessarily started this process of funding and developing the micro badges. I think that's something, or micro credentials. I think that's something that we're considering. Like, is that something that we can give release time for, or is that something that we are just asking people to kind of develop departmentally, so it's not all following on one person? I think for our purposes, that's kind of been the majority of our discussion is, as a department, what are the skills that you see students develop, like in an English 111 course, in a Comp 1 class? What are those skills? And then what are the other courses that kind of build those skills, and how can we develop a micro-credential off of those things, and where that would fall inside of that department? So that way it's not a particular individual developing a full course. It's what are we already doing, and how can we associate a skill with a badge to it? The ones that have been built have been done by the instructional designers, which I'm one of, in our professional development courses. So it's just part of our job description.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
Valerie, we have about 2 minutes left, so I just wanted to let you know you probably have time for maybe one more question.
Okay. Are there any other questions that I can quickly answer?
So Sharon did post one in the chat that says, do any of you use this as a taste of a course that might lead to participants pursuing higher ed coursework? And Beth responded, great question, Sharon.
Yeah, that is a great question. I know we aren't doing that at this point. All right. Well, I think that we've learned some different things about what's been going on, what's going on now, maybe where we're going, what's trending, and this is excellent. I appreciate everybody sharing. And as I said, if you want to find me, I am so easy to find. Just look me up at Fairmont State University, and I'd be happy to carry on the conversation with you and send you some links to some things that might be helpful. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you very much, Valerie, and thank you everyone for attending. And please make sure that you complete the evaluation for the session. It really helps QM as well as the presenter. So have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.